The Supreme Court of Peru has condemned the former President Pedro Castillo to 11 years in jail for alleged rebellion charges. Venezuela continues the process of consolidating direct democracy, reaffirming that no threats or aggressions can intimidate the country. President Xiomara reaffirmed that on Sunday, November 30, the people will be able to enjoy a peaceful electoral day. Hello and welcome to From the South, from the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba. My name is Pablo Micheliche. We begin with the news, so stay with us. The Supreme Court of Peru sentenced former President Pedro Castillo to 11 years, 8 months and 5 days for alleged rebellion. In this trial, former presidents of the Council of Ministers Aníbal Torres and Betsy Chavez have also been convicted. Let's recall that the crime of rebellion has been considered excessive by international lawyers, arguing that numerous witnesses and documentary evidence show that Castillo acted in the legitimate exercise of his constitutional powers. Castillo denounced that his removal in 2022 was a parliamentary coup, as it was carried out without obtaining the 104 votes required by the Constitution. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the new Democratic Party, led by Goodwin Friday, won these Thursday general elections. Friday will become the country's 7th prime minister since its independence. Meanwhile, the new Democratic Party secured a parliamentary majority by winning 11 of the contested seats, according to electoral authorities. Attention now turns to the new government's proposals for addressing the economic and social challenges facing the Caribbean nation, as well as its stance within the region's geopolitical landscape. In the context of the general elections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, incumbent Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves offered exclusive statements to teleSUR, reiterating his call for dialogue between the U.S. empire and Venezuela. Let's listen.
Well, if you remember my statement at the General Assembly in September, I urged that a mature conversation be held between the United States of America and Venezuela to reduce tensions. A mature conversation without preconditions. When people talk, when nations talk, they do not fight. And invariably, when you fight, when the fight ends, you have to talk. So it is better if you talk in advance. And I would like also to see a mature conversation, also without preconditions, between the government of Trinidad and Tobago and the government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. The tensions are not good for our region. For St. Vincent and the Grenadines, any escalation, or any war which arises, would mean, among other things, death and mayhem.
Similarly, Ralph Gonsalves expressed optimism regarding the start of preliminary talks between the governments of Venezuela and the United States.
Yes, well, I think many have spoken and some have not spoken. But I'm heartened by the recent news that have come, that there's at least some back channels for the commencement, at least for some preliminary conversations about talks between Venezuela and the United States of America. And I hope that those talks bear fruit and that we can have a normalization of relations between two countries which historically have had good relations.
And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. The third shipment of solidarity from Venezuela to the Cuban peoples arrives despite aggression by the United States. A ship docked at the Guillermo Moncada port in the province of Santiago de Cuba, where local authorities coordinated the unloading of the supplies. The resources will be distributed immediately in the areas affected by the weather phenomenon as part of the Cuban state's response. Both governments reiterated their commitment to mutual support in facing common challenges, both climatic and geopolitical, and to guaranteeing the well-being of their peoples. In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro reaffirmed that the Bolivarian nation is firmly consolidating without fear the process that grants the people the exercise of direct participatory and protagonist democracy. The president made this statement during the 105th anniversary of the Bolivarian military aviation, where he assured that after 17 weeks of the largest U.S. military deployment in the history of the Caribbean, the Bolivarian people remain firm and fearless. The president highlighted the decisive role of military aviation in defending democracy, especially in the context of new threats from Washington. He also praised the courage of the Bolivarian people and reminded that in Venezuela the power that was once held by great fortunes and the oligarchy now rests with the common people, where communal power is being strengthened. Also in Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro denounced interventionist policies against his country and called to unweld imperial power to respect the sovereignty and self-determination of free peoples. From the 23 de enero commune in Caracas, President Nicolás Maduro urged international imperialism to respect the Venezuelan people's wish to ensure lasting peace and stability in the country. In that regard, the Venezuelan leader reiterated the need and commitment of the entire people to strengthen national power to defend Venezuela's independence, freedom, and democracy. In turn, the head of state announced the construction of a new electoral system in the country, grounded in the powers granted by the Constitution and current laws to further participatory democracy. This Thursday, President Xiomara Castro reaffirmed that on Sunday, November 30, the people will be able to enjoy a peaceful electoral day. While right-wing Ibero-American governments attempt to destabilize the electoral process and repeat their interventionist positions, the head of state reiterates that the government has fulfilled all the functions assigned by law to guarantee an electoral process in freedom, peace, and transparency. The president reaffirmed this from the Juan Manuel Galvez Airport in Roatan, one of the projects her government will hand over to the next administration. Honduras stands out in Central America for its extensive forest. To preserve this, the country has implemented reforestation programs and protected mountainous areas. In our Honduras on the Move series, special correspondent Roberto Gopresa reports on a forest protection initiative led by the Mountain Command, a brigade of the Honduran Army which also protects wildlife. Let's see.
Honduras has a significant forested territory that preserves a rich biodiversity. The preservation of this green expanse requires care, protection, and permanent reforestation. Within the Army, there is a brigade created for that mission.
Currently, the Forest Protection Command has 163 forest protection detachments nationwide. within which there is a detachment of soldiers who carry out patrol activities to identify possible environmental crimes and proceed legally against those who engage in committing these types of offenses.
The forest protectors set up checkpoints on the roads to stop the trafficking of wood. We accompanied a patrol from a mountain command team to one of the protected forests. At the summit of Mount Apare, we witnessed how the uniformed soldiers moved through and entered the woodland to secure the area, prevent illegal logging, and keep the zone clean.
It is also part of the functions assigned to these forest protection detachments to carry out patrols, establish checkpoints, and conduct reconnaissance in which areas damaged by environmental crimes can be identified.
To ensure that the damage caused by humans, pests, or forest fires does not have a drastic impact, the command maintains a permanent reforestation program. Pedro Castillo, a forestry engineer, is in charge of it.
Year, specifically 2025, we have restored up to now 1,825,000 plants, which is equivalent to approximately 1,800 hectares. Last year, in 2024, we reforested 2,800,000 plants. Each year, at a strategic level, production goals and forest restoration goals are set for us nationwide.
Y metas de restauración de bosques a nivel nacional.
In the reforestation and monitoring campaigns, the community is involved. To raise public awareness, training programs are carried out with schools, communities, and public institutions.
We always maintain, in this case, that connection with different institutions, where they are also guided and trained on various topics, including the fight against forest fires, as well as training on environmental protection and micro-watersheds.
But here, it is not only the home that is cared for, its inhabitants are also protected. These birds and felines are the result of operations carried out by the command to combat illegal hunting, wildlife trafficking, and the captivity of wild animals. Here they are fed, rehabilitated, and prepared to return to their normal life in their natural environment, and after a process, they are released.
We look for protected wilderness areas, because those are the areas with less human contact. So, depending on where the species comes from, that is the area it will return to, because it is the climate to which it has adapted.
The main enemy of wildlife and vegetation are the voracious fires, which every summer consume mountains and human lives, such as those of 4 soldiers from the Mountain Command and 5 civilians who were trapped by the flames in 2008. In their memory, this monument stands at the summit of Apare. According to journalistic reports, more than 2,300 hectares of forest have been consumed by flames throughout this year, an alarming figure. That is why the authorities, together with the communities, are making every possible effort to stop this environmental deterioration. I bid farewell from Honduras, not without first extending a cordial invitation for you to write to us on the social networks appearing on your screen.
En la pantalla de su televisor. Esto es Honduras en movimiento. Será hasta la próxima.
And we have a second short break coming up. Before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you will be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. For a short break, don't wait. Welcome back. A Palestinian coach rebuilds his karate academy with his own effort to restore hope to children. Hassan Al-Rai, director of a karate academy in southern Palestine, recounted how he found his club completely destroyed after the ceasefire. Faced with the devastation, the coach explained that he decided to start his own reconstruction project called Yes We Can. He also stated that they began working with 200 children from nearby displaced persons camps using karate as a tool for psychological recovery. Finally, although he admitted to facing serious difficulties due to the lack of materials and protective equipment, the coach assured that they will continue with their initiative.
My name is Hannon and I am 15 years old. I came here to train so I can defend myself in case of an emergency or an attack in the street or in the camp. Before the war, we were always busy, but now, after the war, everyone is left with nothing to do. So instead of staying in the tent, I decided to come here to train. My name is Marwa El Halabi, and I am 21 years old. I have been training at the club for 5 years, but we stopped during the 2 years of war and completely suspended the training. After the end of the war, we resumed training, including with the children. Before the war, there was life, but now the entire club is destroyed and there are no tools or equipment left. Nevertheless, we try to train with the limited resources available. There are no exercise machines, and even the training hall is inadequate, but we have done our best to prepare it. The war devastated Gaza, and only a few clubs remain, and even those are damaged. We hope to reach the international level and represent Palestine and Gaza in international competitions.
The United Nations issued a statement expressing its concern about the situation in Guinea-Bissau following the recent military coup after the general elections. In a statement, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged the parties to exercise restraint and respect the rule of law to ensure peace in the African nation. The statement also highlighted that he will closely monitor the situation in the territory and called on the population to remain calm in the face of the new institutional collapse they are experiencing. Guinea-Bissau has been marked by political instability since its independence in 1974, and last Wednesday, General Horta Entam was appointed the new leader for 1 year after seizing power, arresting the president and closing the country's borders and airspace. After the military forces of Guinea-Bissau suspended the ongoing electoral process and took political power, they also ordered the telecommunication sectors in the country to temporarily suspend access to social media networks. This measure was taken under the argument of preventing the spread of content that could misinform the population or incite violence, and it was stated that it will remain in place until further notice. Guinea-Bissau is considered the most unstable country in Africa. Since gaining independence from Portugal in 1974, it has suffered 4 successful coups and 17 attempted coups. Additionally, it is a strategic point for West Africa. A cinematic animation studio in Togo offers young people the opportunity to venture into this art, despite the challenges of investment in this film sector. Let's see more details.
En Lomé, capital de Congo,
In Lome, the capital of Togo, several young creatives are using their training at Aruka Studio to produce locally inspired films and contribute to the growth of the emerging animation industry. The studio was founded by Boris Kipadano, who describes himself as a lover of this art. The studio aims to provide more enthusiasts with a platform to tell stories and offer a new narrative for the continent.
y dar una nueva narrativa al continente.
From childhood to adulthood, there was a real lack of representation in cartoons. And that's when I told myself that there was a void, and we had to do something to fill it.
El estudio cuenta con herramientas para producir contenidos.
The studio is equipped with tools to produce 2D and 3D content, short series, educational videos, and entertainment. However, one of the challenges facing animation in the country is funding, requiring further development and distribution of content to secure more resources.
Contenidos para lograr obtener mayores recursos.
Currently, This sector has already received significant financial investment. However, before this investment materializes, we must ensure that the money is exclusively allocated to animation. If we manage to build trust with investors today, tomorrow they will have no reservations about investing in the sector.
Aún así, el lugar continúa brindando.
Still, the studio continues to offer training to young creatives in Lone, where participants have already begun bringing characters to life, inventing worlds, and crafting captivating stories inspired by their own realities.
Inspiradas en sus propias realidades.
When my older sister told me about Aruka Studio, and she knew I was interested in animation, she let me come and train. It started as a part-time job, and then I joined permanently.
It was through a friend that I discovered the studio. Since then, I started training. And 2 years ago, I took the opportunity to do advanced internships to improve my skills and begin working on the studio's productions.
Si bien África no destaca por
Although Africa is not known for its animation film production, the continent has begun a period of rapid growth and increased global recognition, something many production companies are taking advantage of to position the region.
para posicionar el territorio.
With that story, we have come to the end of this news brief, but remember you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And you can also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, my name is Pablo Michelice. Thank you for watching.